but it's a really good feeling to talk at the conference, and people, they need speakers. So I totally encourage you to talk, to submit a talk. And on the topic of talks, if you want to talk at this user group, please send me an email, Burwell@Yahoo Inc. And would love to have more people talk, especially tonight we're having Splunkers talk, but it's really great if we can get customers who are using Splunk to talk at our user group. And then also just always want to mention Splunk's Slack instance, the user groups, Slack for Splunk, and we have our own channel, UG SFBA. And I just wanted to go over it. We're going to have our next meeting. I think we're going to pick March 8th. It's going to be virtual. We usually do 2 meetings on, 1 off every quarter. So we're going to skip April. And then May, well, Man and I haven't talked yet. So it'll either be in person or it'll be virtual, but probably the first week of May. And after and now we're going to hear from Mayor Piplia, who's going to talk about the Mothership app. So give you.
Thanks, Beth. We'll do a quick, I think we are recording. We are good there. Yeah, we're recording. Okay. Oh, good. Oh, good. No, that's fine. Yeah, thank you. We'll be covering the app development session first, and then we'll have Ashley help us with Mothership, so slight change, but that's about it. So let me quickly change that flow real quick, and then we will be able to do. So we have Sandeep here and with us on Splunk App Development 101. SOAR and observability. So we'll be focusing today on just the Splunk Enterprise and Cloud and giving you the overview. Ashley is a software engineer at Splunk. She'll be covering the most part of Mothership app that you saw, and Splunk will be, Sandeep will be helping us with app development along with myself. I'll stop sharing here so that Sandeep can start sharing his screen. And Sandeep is joining us from San Francisco. Hey, Sandeep.
Hey, everybody. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
Thank you.
You let me know once you see my screen.
Yep, we can see your screen. So Splunk app overview. In today's session, what we are going to focus on is Splunk Enterprise and Cloud apps. And in the future sessions, we plan to and intend to bring SOAR apps and observability connectors. With that said, myself, Mayur Pipalia, I'm a senior manager for this team called Forward Developer Software Engineering. And we have Sandeep Vasani. Sandeep, do you want to go to next slide and probably show them our puppy face? Okay, this is a forward-looking statement that you may have seen multiple times, obligatory page that we want to be here. We want it to be here. And we can go over the next one. Yes, that's me on the right-hand side and Sandeep on the left.
Hi, my name is Sandeep Pasani, and I'm a senior software engineer at Splunk, and I've been with Splunk since 2016. And currently I'm part of Mayur's team, where one of the things we do is build a prototype app.
Yep, thank you, Sandeep. And this team is basically responsible for building Splunk Enterprise and Cloud apps for our customers, partners, and publishing it on GitHub, open sourcing it, as well as publishing it on Splunk base. So without further ado, we'll share the agenda. So what we are going to talk about today is what the Splunk apps are, right? And type of the Splunk apps, like what do they even do, like how they are structured and built. And then the third one is like how you can build these applications in your organization to bring integrations such as in-house applications or API supported products that may be integrated, that could be integrated with Splunk, and those like insights that you can bring. Then after we'll go on like packaging and vetting, which is to allow you to see like how the apps are structured, how you can package, test, and validate, and publish it on Splunk base. So a mix of high level overview of how apps look, plus some technical hands-on commands and tips and tricks. And then we'll open it up for Q&A. So you can have your questions reserved for that session. In case if you still feel that you want some information right away, feel free to interrupt and we'll be happy to share more information. Let's go over to the next one. So again, right, today we are going to focus on Splunk app and Splunk enterprise and cloud side of the apps and integration. But this is more like holistic picture. Splunk enterprise and cloud on your left side. And then in the bottom, you have observability or OLE connector. That's something we'll be keeping for the future sessions. And then we have SOAR connector, which is basically security orchestration and automated response tools to get your alerts and actions on steroid. We'll be also keeping that for future user group events, depending on where the interest lies for our users. And then we have Edge processor and Edge hub that's upcoming GA in coming months. So that's the overall ecosystem and overview of like what Splunk apps are like and how they look like. And we'll go next and see and discuss about like what are these Splunk apps, right? What do they help us with? And again, when we talk about Splunk apps, here the context is Splunk internal applications that helps you bring logs from third-party system or send data out of Splunk into some other system that you may wanna integrate with. So this package set of configurations could contain like data inputs to bring data in, parsing configs. So this could be conf files like password storage or REST handler, or just props and transforms, transforming your data that your scripts are inputting or ingesting. We also have custom search command and various types of custom search command to distribute the data that is being ingested and queried at search time. And then we have alert action to send data out of Splunk and into some other system. So this other system could be like S3 bucket, or Elk Stack, or it could be another provider altogether in Azure or GCP. We also have custom visualization, and that's more on front end side. So UI, like, hey, you have this pre-built dashboards and visualizations that you get through classic and modern dashboards. But what if you wanted to build something on your own, or you wanted to bring your own custom design or UI by reading through Search Manager and parsing the data and then visualizing it? Or you just want to add more custom element to already existing like tabular forms or already existing visualization. You can achieve those through custom visualization. We also have equivalent of custom visualization, which is called React UI, also known as Splunk UI Toolkit. So this Splunk UI Toolkit is built on top of React framework to allow you and provide you with the customization on a UI side. So this is beyond Dashboard Studio. So even Dashboard Studio that you see, the modern UI framework that we have, is built on top of this Splunk UI framework or React framework underneath. And then we have classic dashboards, right? So app also could contain classic dashboards like in XML format, or Dashboard Studio dashboards in more like a JSON format. And then we have pre-built reports like saved searches, alert action, macros, even indexes. All this could be part of your app, right? So pretty holistic view of what an app could do. And this is kind of power of Splunk, right? Like modularity, customization. And sometimes it brings confusion like, hey, so I can pretty much virtually do anything, build very custom apps and get as much customization as I want. But then you want to focus on, your use case, on like what your business wants to drive, and then focus on these components. Like, am I trying to get data in, process that data, or sending the data out? If you're trying to get data in, then you use data inputs or modular input, modular alert. We'll talk about those. If you want to process the data at search time, you are going to use custom search command, send data out through modular alerts, or just visualize and get value out of it through reports and custom visualization. That's also there. So we'll go next. So these are the two main or more common types of like Splunk apps. And you would hear the terminology like add-ons and apps. And add-ons could be technology add-on, supporting add-on. So TA, also known as technology add-on, supporting add-on, or security add-on, or D. And then inside the add-on, we have modular input. And then you would hear like terms like GDI or GDO. So those are just acronym that Splunk has for getting data in and getting data out, right? So modular inputs helps you with getting data in from mostly API, but you could have custom sources engraved in add-on as well and help you send, like, ingest that data. Now, when you're bringing the data, it could be in events format or metrics format. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So you have options there to get more customization. And then you also have add-ons, which helps with parsing configuration. And what that means is when you're bringing this data in, you can have a SIM compliance to see like, hey, maybe you are getting data in from ticketing system. It could be Jira, it could be ServiceNow, it could be BMC, or even in-house ticketing system. Now, how do you get like a dashboard or reports which works with all of them, right? Regardless of which input you pick. So that's where SIM compliancy and data model comes into the picture, where it kind of sees across the horizon of, like, in this regards, ticketing system, saying like, oh, ticket ID. So in ServiceNow, ticket ID could be like SysID. In Jira, it could be just ID. And this SIM compliance or SIM mapping helps you map different kind of keys to more standardized form. So that's what SIM compliance is. And so app could contain those mapping or field alias or mapping. Also field extraction, right? So that could be for either masking the data, which might be PII, or you just want to mask or redact some information, or you want to transform the data, right? So those things could be done through field extraction. So that's all add-on, right? Now then we have a big side of apps terminology, right? And these are Splunk apps that you see on Splunk base, right? So we have modular alert action, which is basically you have all these searches and reports running, but you want to send data out to some third-party system. Now on Splunk base, you'll find a readily available modular alert, which is sending data to like standard and most common applications like Slack. It could be email, right? Running a report regularly to send a report to executives. Could be in-house application, right? Like, so there are many end users and customers who have like in-house applications where they want to send Splunk data. So you can use modular alert, also custom search command in some cases to send that data, read that data from Splunk, and then send it out to other system. And that other system could be webhooks, it could be some API endpoint, or it's just TCP or UDP port, which your Python scripts are running, right? So all these add-ons and apps you see here, underneath that, there are like conf files, JavaScript files, and backend is mostly Python file to handle the data manipulation. We also have custom visualization. We spoke about that, or Splunk UI component to get more customization on a UI part. And we have dashboards, which is classic dashboards and reports to interface with UI. So that could be part of app as well. One of the reasons I'm reiterating is like, sometimes it becomes confusing to understand all of this and like just so many moving parts within the app. So one thing I advise everyone while they're learning and going through app development is like, hey, we have github.com/Splunk. Just search for examples and you will find lots of examples on each one of these types. And we have linked this in this presentation as well, which will be published post-event. So you'll be able to access those resources. And we have hybrid apps, right? So all this enterprise security, ITSI, what are those? Those are just apps or collection of apps running all this back mix of these things, right? Like some of them are having parsing configuration, some of them are having modular alert, and just so much of customization there and modular ecosystem. Let's go next, Sandeep. Now, this slide is focused on custom search command. Sandeep, do you want to go over this or do you want me to cover?
Yeah, I can go.
Yeah, so we have here types of, custom search command. Even custom search command could be of different types. And what you want to probably know is like, hey, we have generating, streaming, transforming, and events. When to use what, like, so you would see probably familiar names here, such as input lookups for generating command, which generally comes in the beginning of your SPL query or Splunk processing language, right? So input lookups is used to read like CSV file. But now think about this. You have a situation where you want to build your own generating command. So we have samples for those for you to build your own. We have make results. So make results is useful for creating pseudo or sample events when you're testing your SPL. Like, hey, you want to inject a data which already does not exist while you are querying. You do pipe make result, and your command will create a sample events for you without actually ingesting data. The second one is streaming. It has two types, which is distributed and non-distributed. The streaming commands are generally useful in a situation where you have a scale, right? And these commands are generally used when you are querying Splunk at search time. So when you need a scale where you have like millions of records and you want to distribute your query across the indexers and search it cluster, that's where streaming distributed and non-distributed commands shines, especially the distributed one like eval, where, or field, where you're saying that, hey, here is my query, then you pipe it and then send it to where or eval, and it gets distributed across indexers to distribute that load. It's very similar to like how Hadoop and MapReduce concept works, just to give you an idea or analogy. The third one is like transforming. So what you have as input, you may have rows and columns or key values. Like how would you transpose them into like more coherent states or information? That's where transforming commands like states, time chart comes into the picture. And there are just tons of examples of this on how you can use it to get more out of your data and business insights through easiness of these commands. The part and use of this custom search command is that you can go beyond what's already available and build your own as well. So sometimes you feel like, oh, but this command is not exactly doing what I want to do. You can copy one of this, or you can create one of yours through Python and write your own one. We have eventing or data set processing, which is sort and dedupe, basically the very most common one, right? Like sort by this field name or deduplicate this field because it has like duplicate names or duplicate entries. So those are the eventing and data set processing. The photo that you see there is where like you see like you write a SPL command in the UI underneath what happens is that it runs that custom search command, which has a code to read the input, just very, very similar to Linux analogy of std in and out, right? So it takes std in a very special format, the custom search command, processes it, and then spits out the result, just like std out, to other pipe command, if there is next pipe command, or to Splunk handler. So that's the beauty of it. And then you can inject your Python script. And we also have a Go and C++ wrapper. If you're keen on not using Python, but you want to use your own language, you can bring Go or Python, C++ for more performance, right? And probably the native commands that you see on the left-hand side, they are all written in C++. Let's go next, Sandeep. Now you would think about like, how do I build this add-ons or this apps? Like what is available, right? I want to start something easy and maybe go deeper eventually. So we have two ways. The first one that we have listed is more advanced and would give you more customization is UCC framework, which is also a building block or a core system of how add-ons or modular input or TA works. So UCC framework is something you will see in all the add-ons or most of the add-ons that you see on Splunk base. And UCC framework basically helps you generate the template for UI, for the Python files and the helper functions that you see in the class. So this framework basically reads your input and says, hey, these are the text and inputs that you need for input and configuration. Here are the secrets, like, hey, this input has a type secret, so I want to manage sensitive data like API key or password in a more secure manner. So it will save those things into passwords.conf and encrypt. Before saving, it will encrypt it with like a Splunk internal crypto function that Splunk uses. And UCC framework, once you dive deeper and you're used to building add-ons, you would be using it as a developer. Provides more control and customization, as we have mentioned it here. Now you would be like, hey. So I think Sandeep, I will probably have you cover what UCC stands for.
Yeah, so UCC stands for Universal Configuration Console. Yep, sorry.
See, Sandeep is always available to save.
So it stands for Universal Configuration Console, and it's a Python framework it's a Python framework to generate UI-based add-ons, and it can be installed using a Python package installer. Also, UCC provides you with more flexibility to build add-ons, and it's best suitable if you are experienced developer, because you can build highly customized add-ons using UCC. And the other option to build add-ons is the add-on builder. So it's a tool built by Splunk to build Splunk Enterprise or Splunk Cloud apps add-ons. And add-on builder provides you with a step-by-step process to build add-ons. And it also simplifies creation of custom add-ons by providing a friendly interface for developers.
And we'll probably go over it, right, in a bit. Yep. Sandeep is going to cover add-on builder part, which is the easy button, right?
Yep.
So we'll learn more about add-on builder from Sandeep in a moment.
Yeah.
So and add-on builder is again Splunk app. So you can install it on your Splunk instance, and it provides you with the variety. You can also get creative with add-on builder. You can have very basic UI where you can say, hey, this is the API key, here is the REST endpoint, get me this data, and make sure there is no there is a deduplication handle through some of the helper function in the UI. But then you can also get customized and more granular through Python editing feature in add-on builder. So we'll see that as well in a bit. Let's go to next slide.
Yep, before I go, I also want to mention that so add-on builder also uses UCC framework internally, but it doesn't expose all the features of the UCC.
And I think, yep, sorry, go ahead.
Yep. So it has like a limited UI options, and it's best suitable like if you are building the simple add-on. For example, like add-on builder doesn't support OAuth authentication out of the box, but you can use UCC framework to build add-ons that require OAuth authentication.
Yep, and that was a very, very important point. Basically, add-on builder has UCC framework at its core, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically making it even further easier in terms of UI for you to build your add-ons, be it alert or input. Let's go next. I'll hand it over to Sandeep to further explain what add-on builder looks like and how it can be used. If you want, not mandatory, but you can install add-on builder on your machine and experience the same UI as well. So Sandeep, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. So this is the UI for add-on builder, like after you install the add-on builder app on your Splunk Enterprise and do the basic setup. So here, like it will ask you like what type of add-on you want to build. Like if you want to build the modular input or if you want to build the modular alert action. So if you choose to build the modular input, in the next step, like it will ask you like what type of input method you want to use. So here you can choose whether you want to write your data collection using REST APIs or just the shell commands or just using the Python code. And it will also allow you to build the your add-on UI by dragging and dropping the UI elements for your data collection. It also supports like different UI elements like text, password, checkbox, drop-down, etc.
These are the, if you can go back real quick. Yeah, these are the components that you can use. Just drag and drop text, password, checkbox, Dropbox, multiple Dropbox. What this interface does is that it translates this UI into domain-specific language. Like you can see the variable internal name, like API_key. Your code will be able to access those UI elements in your like logic. So something to think about as you build. And the reason you have different components here is to manage whether the data type is checkbox or text or password. Let's go next. Thank you.
Yep. So on the next step, like it will let you write your code into its inbuilt IDE. It will let you like save and test the code directly inside your add-on builder.
So just remember, right? Like earlier we dragged and dropped API key like as one of the input, and the other one was drop down, and it basically built that UI for you. And then you can create like input here, and the code on the right hand side is where you'll be able to access those inputs and test and validate. Now think about this. This code is for you as a developer to test, you as a creator or content builder to test how your add-on or app works. But the end user will see entirely different experience. They won't see how add-on is working underneath. They'll see the exposed UI like, hey, all I care about is like entering API key and selecting my server, which I want to query data from. So that's one of the key points you want to probably remember. And on the right-hand side on the top, you see test and save. So test is to validate what you have written, and save is to basically store what you are building here. And Sandeep, I'll hand it over to you to cover other elements.
Yep. So finally, like after you write your code, like it will let you validate your add-on and then download the final package that you can install it on any other Splunk instance, or you can directly upload it to Splunk base. So now let's say if you're not building add-on using add-on builder, like there are like 3 different ways that you can package your add-on or app. The first is the like a manual way, like using OS specific tar command. For example, you can use the tar command on Unix systems to package app, as shown here. For example, tars using option CVF, and you tar your app. And while you are tarring your app, make sure that you exclude all your hidden files and your compiled .pyc or pyo files while packaging. And the other option is to use the Splunk Enterprise CLI command, package app, command that's included with Splunk Enterprise. And this command will create a tar archive of your app directory and will save it under app package under Splunk home and into the .spl file extension. And the third option is you can just use the Splunk packaging toolkit that will take care of all the packaging and removing all the unwanted or hidden files. And you can install the Splunk packaging toolkit using the Python package installer.
Yep. Here, a couple of things that you wanna probably note is that there are 3 methods, and you would wonder like, hey, when to use what, right? And why do I have to package if I had add-on builder? Now, this is the option you would be using when you're building your custom apps, right? Your custom apps would have UI element such as dashboards, props, transforms, your custom Python code. And tar command would basically help you package the app. And C is for compress, V for verbosity, so you can see what's being tarred or zipped or compressed. Z is for making sure that you are using TGZ format. And F is for, I would say, force, but I could be wrong there. C is clear.
Files.
There you go. Okay, thank you. And then you have file name, output file name, right? And then you have disable copy file, which is something that you want to use in Unix file system. And the exclude parameter, you see a couple of excludes here. Local.meta, again, you don't want to package that because it contains your local permissions and local customization. Generally, when you're packaging app, you don't want to include anything that is in local folder either. .ds_store is also a meta file that is generally seen in Mac OS and Unix systems, mostly Mac OS. And .git is again your version control and source code, right? So you don't want to ship your internal libraries or versioning with your app. You want to exclude those when you are packaging because you want to keep it compact. And then we have git ignore, local folder, and PyCache. So PyCache again is the folder that's introduced during I think mostly Python 3, which contains PYC files. So you want to ignore that as well because you don't want to ship a binary file and cause compatibility issue. And PyCache is generally created as well when you install the TA. So don't feel that, hey, this PyCache is created, maybe it was included. No, generally when Python interpreter runs py file, it will generate PyCache to convert that Python file code into more like bytecode or compiled code. And PyCache is the directory where it gets stored. Now, that's the most customized option that you have under menu. And then we have Splunk Enterprise CLI, which is the easy button again for packaging the app. So Splunk, which is the Splunk binary that you see in your OPT Splunk bin folder typically. And then you have an argument called package and then app and then the app name. And generally this app is also found in OPT Splunk etc apps folder. That's the package name. The folder name is the app name that you want to use here. We also have Splunk packaging toolkit, which you may have to install externally because this doesn't come pre-built Slim package with Splunk Enterprise. So you want to download through dev.splunk.com to help you with the packaging. And it has more customization and value of like why you want to use Slim versus Splunk package app. But think about this. The top one is the most customizable option. The middle one is easy button for you to package your apps. And the third one is where you can provide customization. And underneath it uses some of the tar attributes that we see in the manual mode. I'll pass it over to Sandeep for us to explain more about next. Yes, sure.
Yep. So now if you are building the app.
Just a second, Sandeep, just a moment. We have a question.
Okay.
After I use the builder and get tested, where do I have to find the source? So first option uses hop depot indicate source.
Let me. Can you, that's okay.
Yeah, so after I run that builder and then tested my code, where do I find the source under?
In the
system?
add-on builder, right? Like when you're building through add-on builder, where do you find your source? Is that the question?
Yeah, after.
Yeah. After you test and everything. So when you click, Sandeep, can you go back to the couple of slides? So you see here validator. On the right-hand side, you see the download package here. Yeah, so that's your tar file. Now, one thing to remember here, this is the download option, which does not provide one of the meta file, which would allow you to import it into other system, other add-on builder. So there are two ways to download. This is if you want to share it with your end user, but if as a developer, if you are intending to import it somewhere, you can go to add-on builder homepage, and it will also have export package option, and that will export additional meta file, add-on builder meta file that allows you to import this add-on into different systems. Right, Sandeep?
Yep. So when you download from here, it's for, let's say you want to install it on the production environment. It's not for development.
Yep. And the export option is for development.
Yep.
We have another question from Jim.
This quick question, is the add-on builder bundled with Splunk Enterprise, or is it an add-on?
It's an app that you have to install separately from Splunk base. Yep. So great question. It's not available built in, so you still have to go to Splunk base and either download it or install it through your manage apps and install more apps. Yep. Sandeep, we can go over to the next slide. Good questions. Keep those questions floating in.
Yep. So now let's say if you are building the app or add-on for Splunk Cloud, like it needs to also go through the cloud app vetting. So cloud app vetting is an automated process that uses Splunk App Inspect to perform a set of cloud-specific checks on the packaged app or add-on. Then using the results of the check, cloud vetting will determine whether this app or add-on can be installed on Splunk Cloud platform. So there are like two ways that you can run the app inspect on your packaged app. The first is the Splunk App Inspect CLI that you can install using the Python package installer. And the second option is the App Inspect API. Like you can do the post request to the App Inspect validate endpoint with your package, and then wait and poll the status endpoint for the results. Maya, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. So again, right, you would be wondering like, why do I need this another step of validation of app vetting, right? So this is for you to get your apps more like cloud supported. So Splunk Cloud has additional restrictions because it's cloud environment. You want to make sure that your apps that you're installing is more secure, more structured, going through some level of quality test, and at least making sure there is a validation of your packaged app is not having like some syntactical issue or known old version of jQuery or Python 2, right? So making sure your app is up to date. So that's where this Splunk App Inspect CLI tool comes into play. There is an API version as well, as Sandeep mentioned, which basically is used in CLI tool. So you may just want to bundle this curl command in your shell script when you are packaging with TGZ, or in your CI/CD pipeline, where when you are triggering the app publishing, the curl command actually gets automatically executed and does the app validation for you. Now, sure.
Yeah, so the App Inspect API, is that an additional step to the ACS API that you can use on the Victoria experience?
So SES is a good option to kind of create a wrapper around those App Inspect API. So if you're using SES to install the app, that's fine. But SES, as far as I know, it doesn't do app validation.
I thought there were two steps. One is the validation, and then you get the validation response back, and then you do the installation.
Then in that case, SES is doing validation for you, but it's only restricted to Victoria experience, which Splunk is moving towards in cloud. So again, just to give you context, what is SES, right? Admin Config Service, which is a wrapper to help you, like Splunk admins, make Splunk apps installed easily through command line. So in cloud, you see as admin, you see a lot of restrictions like, hey, how do I create index, or how do I push app, or how do I whitelist this IP address that my on-prem application needs to communicate with Splunk Cloud, right? So this SES command line tool and SES API, which is again same concept as like App Inspect, but much more widely popular, can help you manage those admin experience, including installing apps, much easier. SES can also be integrated in your CI/CD pipeline so that you can create indexes through CI/CD, add approvals, right, for creating indexes in cloud, and also installing and validating apps. So that's another option that you can use. But underneath SES for App Inspect, it would be using this API. Yep. So, but good question. Yeah.
Yep. So when you install the app on Victoria, like internally, it runs the App Inspect before you can install it.
Yeah. And what Sandeep is trying to say is that when you log into Splunk Cloud Web UI, it also allows you to install custom apps. And when you are uploading your TGZ or custom apps that you have built, it runs this APIs underneath. So sometimes you don't need to know what it does, but in case you are wondering what how the validation works and when it fails, when it passes, and what to do when it fails, these are the APIs which can come in handy to add some validation when you are developing apps. Let's go over to the next tab. So I think, Sandeep, these are all the resources, right, for you to use. So the deck will be shared in the user group channel, and it will be available. But just in case, if you want to know, like App Dev is the community Slack channel where you will find all this content, right? And we have free developer license as well. So if you are building content and apps and add-ons, you can get special license as a developer to install. And of course, Splunk Base has 3,000 to 4,000 plus apps combined on Splunk Enterprise, Splunk Cloud, and Splunk SOAR product. As a developer, one more important thing that you want to know is VS Code extension. So VS Code is the IDE that many people use for their development or just editing some files here and there. But we have Splunk specific add-on to help you manage your conf files, help you manage your saved searches right through VS Code extension IDE. Sandeep, do you want to add anything on resources side?
Yep. So there's also a community Slack channel. I think it's #AppDev. Like if you have any questions, and then we have like links for documentation for add-on, and then UCC.
Yeah. I love your reiterating. So #AppDev is very important because that's where you will be finding all this content. Let's go over the next one. So again, we spoke about this custom search commands. So these are the links around those. We have one question here.
Yeah, just quick question. Do you also have Vim syntax or just the Visual Studio Code?
I believe it is Visual Studio Code, but I have seen some third-party extension within VS Code which supports Vim syntax. So I would really check, not through Vim editor itself in a command line, but having the Vim-like experience in VS Code. Yeah, and then you can combine that with Splunk extension to get best of both worlds. Again, not what you probably want, but yes. Again, this is custom search command examples and information on how you can build one. Yep. We spoke about packaging the app, packaging toolkit available, and how you can vet the app. So these are the links that you'll be finding to do those activity. Yeah, and thank you very much. Let's open it up for more questions and answers. I'm sure there will be many, but thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any questions before we move on to the next session? I know we will probably have a break.
Yeah, we can do a quick 5 to 10 minute break and
Let's
then
do that.
start
Let's
the
do
next
that.
session. So let's meet back up at 7:15.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sandeep.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
There's more drinks outside. And the restrooms are right behind the door to your right. But we'll check on you guys because you need a badge back in.
The floor is all yours.
Okay, awesome. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everybody see this okay?
So we
Uh,
can see your
Okay, perfect, yeah. Awesome. So, hello, everybody. My name is Ashley, and I will be presenting on the newest Mothership app. Just as an
She's
introduction.
joining us from Virginia, so it's past her bedtime, but she's on here.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, just as an introduction, as Manan said, I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, so over on the East Coast. I've been with Splunk for around 2.5 years, and I work at Splunk as a software engineer, so also on Sandeep and Mayer's team. Fun fact about me is that I love sushi, and yeah. So this is the agenda of the topics that I'm going to be covering today regarding the Mothership application. So first, I'm going to set the scene regarding what customers might be able to use Mothership, and then diving into what is the Mothership app, how it works. I'll dive into some differentiators between mission control and federated search, how you can use it with ITSI support, and then I will end with a little demonstration of the Mothership app. From here, to really set the scene, there are a lot of companies / organizations that may have multiple Splunk deployments. For example, this might resonate with any one of you, but a MSSP that is in charge of managing their different customers' environments, any government agency that needs Splunk instances for various reasons, such as funding, any multinational organization that comprises of stacks across different geographical regions, or any company that has undergone any acquisition, such as MasterCard, but really any company with a global footprint. What all these different customers have in common is this one challenge of having a centralized place to view all events / results from multiple Splunk deployments. These customers, in order to monitor their different environments, right now they have to log into each instance in order to monitor, investigate, and triage any issue. In addition, in order to install alerts on disparate environments, these customers are required to log into each stack to do so. Now, in order to solve this problem, we now have the Mothership application. So what is Mothership? This is a Splunk app that is available on Splunk Base. This app provides a single pane of glass into large multi-instance core Splunk deployments. In addition to Mothership, we have another app called ES Mothership, which is also available on Splunk Base. The purpose of ES Mothership is to provide a single pane of glass into multi-instance Splunk enterprise security deployments. Both of the Mothership applications work by dispatching the SPL onto the remote Splunk instances on a scheduled interval. This will poll on an interval that you define, and it will actually store a local snapshot of those results. Specifically, this is how Mothership operates. You first add an environment, which is one of the remote instances you want to monitor. Specifically, you're going to enter in the management port 8089 of the remote instance. Then you define the search that you want to run, as well as what interval you would like the search to run. For this, you're able to define the search interval either in seconds or on a cron schedule. Then it will pull back the search results. Then in step 4, it will store a copy of the results either to an index or in a lookup. Mothership will decide where it is stored based on the search that Mothership is running. If the search is a non-transforming search, it will go into an index, whereas with a transforming search, for example, Mayor touched on this a little bit before, but any search with a stats chart, a time chart, any of those types of searches where the end result is a statistic, those will go into a lookup. But in any case, Mothership is storing a copy, and based on that copy of the data, you can build out dashboards visualizing data across all of those environments. Lastly, of course, you can apply role-based access control for these results because it is stored in those indexes and the lookups. So this is a part of how Mothership works on a high level. And now diving in, we have really seen that the Splunk portfolio has grown so much that it can be a little difficult to understand or parse out what these different things are doing. So let's go ahead and try to demystify how these various solutions help solve that view into multiple tenants. So first off, we have mission control. Now this does give us a unified security operation. Mission control's goal is to create a single pane of glass between your SIM and your SOAR. Right now, if you have our SIM product, which is enterprise security, and if you have our SOAR product, which was formerly known as Phantom, right now customers kind of have to pivot or swivel between those two applications to accomplish your full security workflow between SIM and SOAR. However, now with mission control, it is providing a single pane of glass into both your SIM and SOAR products unified together. And it consolidates these different security products into one single place. Second, we have federated search. Federated search allows us to search multiple deployments. So this allows us to reach in and query different deployments and bring back data. However, given that it does require synchronization between the different tenants, so when you pull back results across multiple different deployments of Splunk, one thing you have to do is you have to ensure that they're all on the same version of all the TAs for the data that you're querying. And the reason for that is, for example, if one tenant has Splunk for Windows version 6, whereas another one has version 7, there could be new fields there with the new version. And without knowledge of those different fields, you might receive unexpected results. Then we come into the Mothership app. Again, it works by using simple REST API into Splunk, and it also supports macros with enterprise security. All of the knowledge objects are taken care of at the remote search head, so there is no need for the child instances to be configured in any way. These child instances can simply expose the management port, and they don't need to be aware that there is the Mothership app deployed and that the Mothership app monitors them. So all of these child instances don't need any app installed on them. Because of that, it's very low coupling in a way, because you can simply install the Mothership app on your monitoring Splunk instance, and the others don't need any installation process or any upgrade process. So it's pretty quick and easy to set up for many environments. Lastly, for completeness, I want to talk a little bit about the admin config service, which is also known as ACS. This is a new API that's available in the Victoria stacks and the newer commercial stacks. It's not yet available in FedRAMP and some of the EU. However, given that the goal of this API is to provide administrative capabilities to customers in charge of controlling different Splunk environments. So this can be really useful for any MSSP customers. This gives these customers the ability to go in and orchestrate different Splunk cloud environments. Now, a question we receive quite often is if Mothership can be used in conjunction with ITSI. And the answer is absolutely yes. You can use the Mothership app to search through your various ITSI deployments. However, given that we do not yet have out-of-the-box dashboards to visualize that data, that you're able to see via Mothership. Now let's talk about support for Mothership. Right now, Mothership is supported by the forward deployed software engineer team, which is the team that Mayor leads. So the team that I'm on and Sandeep is also on. Because Mothership is supported by the FDSC team, we continue to maintain and develop the application. You can reach us by emailing mothership@splunk.com or reaching out onto the Mothership Slack channel, this Splunk Slack channel, where we do have 24/7 support. Mothership is supported by professional services on a best effort basis. And this is similar to how other apps such as the URL Toolbox, TrackMe, and the Compliance Central apps are supported by PS. For other avenues of support, you can also look to the on-demand team, where we will have availability with them as well. But if you have any type of questions or any concerns, you can reach out to us via, again, that email or that Slack channel. Now I'm going to dive into a demonstration of how the Mothership and ES Mothership app works. But before moving forward from there, any questions that I can take now?
Yes, Sammy has a serious question.
Who decided on the word mothership?
So Mothership was originally created by two older Splunkers, Nicholas and I'm blanking on the other Splunker's name, but those two individuals were the ones that first came up with the idea of the Mothership application and also named it so.
Another
So,
question.
yeah, unfortunately, I can't take credit for that.
Is this supported in Splunk Cloud or Splunk Enterprise or both?
Yes, it is supported both on Splunk Cloud environments as well as on-prem.
And do you essentially pick one of your Splunk deployments to be the main mothership operator, I guess?
Yes, that's correct. So you'll install the Mothership app on one Splunk instance, one that you want to be able to see all of the events and logs from your remote instances. So for that, totally up to you as long as it's a search head.
No more questions for now.
Okay, awesome. So with that, I'm gonna dive into my Splunk instance. Okay, so going into here, you can see on the side that we have two apps installed. First of which we have the Mothership app, which again is the engine to configure environments and to send SPL. And then we have the ES Mothership, which has pre-configured search templates as well as specific dashboards for the data that is returned from Mothership. So going into the mothership app, we first land on the environments page, where we can see that we have one customer being monitored, which is customer 1 US. You can add another environment by clicking on the new environment button on the top right. And from here, we have the environment setup pop-up, where we can fill out the information, such as giving it a name, putting in that management server, again, which would be port 8089, the web server, and the username and password for that stack. Right here, the search templates. This is specific to the ES Mothership app, which I will show how this looks later. But this is an option for the ES Mothership. At the bottom, you're able to add in tags as well, such as, for instance, if you want to put in a US tag to indicate which region it's in, or UK, then you're able to do that here as well. And now when you have your environment configured, it will look like this here, and you can then dive into this stack, and then you're able to add in a new search to that environment. Notice here that we have already added one search. So this search that is labeled as last internal logs, this has already been enabled. We can take a more specific look into the search by clicking on the edit button. One thing to note here, notice the SPL for the search, which is index equals _ internal, earliest equals 1 minute. So the search is looking through the internal index and grabbing the logs from 1 minute ago. This is a non-transforming search, meaning there's no stats chart, time chart. So we're not returning any statistic, we're returning actual events. Due to that, this means that the search results will go into an index. Now, when you are adding in a new search, you have many different options to configure. Again, you can add in a new search by just clicking on the new search button found on the right-hand side. And notice here that the options that you have when configuring a search that will get dispatched to your remote Splunk instances. You have an option again to put in the SPL that you want. You're able to define the polling interval, so you're able to do seconds or a cron schedule as well. Expanding the advanced options, you'll see here that we're able to specify the source type. This is something that's only available for non-transforming searches. You're able to generate a new index, or you're able to send this into an existing index as well. Here you can see for the lookup option, if you're writing events into a lookup, these will get overwritten on each poll. In the previous search we have for the last internal logs, that will go into an index though, so that will not be overwritten. However, the lookup will. On this toggle here, you also have the option to send results to a remote index via the HTTP event collector. So that's another option you have there as well. And now looking at our configured search, we can see that we have a couple of results returned, specifically around 1,300 results. Looking at the persistence, we see that, again, these results are being added into an index. From here, we can actually click here to query that index. And we can see from the search that is running that we have around 100,000 events. And looking at the fields on the left-hand side, we see that they all have the source type of customer1 _ internal. And this is something that we defined when we created that search. through the pop-up that we saw earlier. Also looking at the host, this is indicating that all of the events that we see here are coming from this one host, which is again that remote instance. So from here, this is what the mothership app looks like. Let's pivot into the ES mothership app. So diving into here, you'll notice that on the starting page, this looks very similar to the mothership app. However, one thing you'll notice is that environments are actually tracked on a per app basis, meaning that you'll see that here we have 2 environments configured, whereas remember in the mothership app, we only had 1 environment configured. So for these 2 environments, for here, it looks like we have a remote stack from the UK configured, as well as a remote ES stack from the US configured. And expanding those different stacks, it looks like we already have a couple of searches that have already been configured to pull onto these stacks. Similarly to the mothership app, you're able to add in a new environment very easily just by clicking that new environment button. And when adding in this new environment, notice that you do have the option to toggle in search templates. So within the ES mothership app, these are templates for these environment searches. And when you hit apply, as soon as the environment gets created, it will have those searches already configured. So diving into here with these are the 3 searches that are specifically designed to query your ES instances. Looking into the searches, the first one here, for instance, this one is using a macro to get the ES notable events. Looking into the second query, looking at the search string, this is a query that is getting all the different notables by urgency. And the third query we have is a search over the notable index. So again, when adding in a new environment, you will add in similar information such as the name, management server, web server, username, password. And if you do choose to apply those search templates, then these are the 3 searches that will automatically get configured to run on your remote instances. Now, diving into the out-of-the-box dashboards that we have with ES Mothership, the first of which we'll look into is the multi-ES security posture dashboard. This dashboard is one that mimics the ES security posture page that we're all familiar with if you do have enterprise security. However, this dashboard, instead of just giving us a great overview into one environment, it is actually summarizing data coming from all environments that you have connected to ES Mothership. You'll notice on the top that we have filters. So we can select if we want this dashboard to populate with information from all environments, or we can drill down and pick a specific environment instead. For example, if you only want to drill down and see information from a stack located in the UK or versus the US. As a refresher into the security posture page, this dashboard gives a great high-level overview of all of the environments that we're monitoring. At a first glance, we're able to see the different domain notables that have fired off. Also, we're able to see them separated by urgency. On the other side, we have a timeline view to see when these have fired off. And further on the bottom, we have panels displaying the most common notable events that have occurred, as well as the sources associated with them. Then to dive deeper into the notable events, we can move into the multi-ES instant review dashboard. This dashboard is by default displaying notable events from all environments. However, again, at the top, you do have the option to filter and sift through the environments that you have. In addition to the environment filter, we have additional filters. So you can filter on things such as searching for maybe only critical events, maybe events that haven't been assigned yet, or any different owners. And lastly, you're able to pick through the security domain. Now on the table that will populate, this will populate with all of the notable events that match the filters that you have selected up on the top. So you're able to view all the notable events that have triggered from your different ES instances in one single place here. Looking through the table on the column, you're able to identify which stack the notable event is coming from. So in our case, we're seeing a lot of events coming from our US stack, as well as a couple coming from our UK stack. If you see an event that you want to drill down into, you can easily pivot into the originating environment to gather some more detail or even perform an automated action. So diving into the action column here, you can click on the instant detail. And this will take you into your stack, filter down directly into that notable event that you wanted to drill down into. So from here, you're able to get some more information in the context of enterprise security. And as mentioned, you can then perform any type of automated action or adaptive response action. Now, finally, for any of you that are on Splunk 9.0 and are really wanting to dive in and utilize our new dashboard studio, you can actually do so by utilizing the multi-ES instant review dashboard studio dashboard. This dashboard is a replication of the previous dashboard that we just took a look at. However, this one is implemented in Dashboard Studio, so you can use these two dashboards to really compare and contrast between Splunk's classic dashboard as well as Dashboard Studio. This is similar to the previous one in the sense that, again, we have the option to filter through different environments, filter by urgency, status, owner, and security domain. And from here, you're able to search through all the notable events. And this instance, that's coming from all the stacks that we're monitoring. And of course, our multi-ES instant review dashboard studio is implemented in dark mode. So from here, any questions about what we just took a look at, any feedback?
We have one.
And the search exit, right? Like once the search execution completed, will the data will be ingested in the local summary index, or it's runtime the data population here in the dashboard?
Oh, sorry, could you repeat that question? I think
Can you go to the environment, the first one?
The first environment.
Yeah. There are two searches, right? I mean, the two environment configured and along with some searches, right? Like there are notable events, right? When the search schedule meet, right? Every 15 minutes, sorry, every 5 minutes, the search is executing. What is the output? Like the output will be stored in the locally or like, yeah, the search.
Yeah. So with these searches that are predefined with ES Mothership, these, for instance, this first one, this is not a transforming search. So all of the search results that are coming from this macro will be stored into an index on the mothership instance or the stack that contains the mothership instance.
Oh, okay. Basically, we are summarizing the events and getting index into the mothership servers, like where the mothership is running.
Yes, that's correct. So for this, all of the results will be stored into an index that you can define. If you're using any transforming search, such as this one, the results of the search will be stored in a lookup on the mothership instance.
Okay. I have one more question. I think thanks for this one. Can we perform any alert actions here?
So no actions here as of yet. If you want to perform an automated action onto any of the alerts that we have, then you could use the instant review to go back into the originating stack and then perform an action.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
No other
Any
question.
other questions?
Not for now.
Okay, awesome. So with that, yeah, so if no other questions, then again, the mothership app as well as the ES mothership app are both available on Splunk base. So you can go ahead and check those two out. If you have any further questions or comments about the applications, then please reach out to us through the mothership Slack channel or by emailing mothership@splunk.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
That's it for the meeting today, although we do have a little bit of swag for those people that ask questions. Is that fair? Who asks questions?